Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I am going live to share with you 3 signs that fear is stopping you from advancing in your career. So, I'm going to jump right into it. As people come in the room, they can catch the replay, and I'll just catch people up. So, my first question to you is fear holding you back from doing the things you want to do in your career? Is fear, hey Peach, how you doing? Is fear holding you back in your career from doing the things that you want to do? And you don't have to tell me in the comments. That's just a question you need to answer for yourself internally. But the truth is, for many people, like either your immediate response is either yes, no, or I don't know, right? Whatever your response is, this conversation is for you today. I've been up here typing out what I want to say to y'all. So it's going to be real good today. Again, I'm prepared another day. Right? So we're going to break down what career fear looks like or feels like internally and externally. Right? Because the truth is, most social workers I work with inside of my career coaching program don't even realize that fear is the silent barrier to them advancing in their career before they ever meet me or work with me. Right. And so because many of those same people have been securing macro jobs left and right over the last 3 weeks, we just celebrated a career win inside of our community again today for someone who's now going to be making the most money she's ever made in her career doing work that she's always dreamed about. I thought that now is a great time to talk about fear. Look at Peach, engaging. I love that. Peach says that dang imposter syndrome. Thank you, Peach, for engaging and being honest with yourself. I love that, because the first step is acknowledging it. Because once you name it, you then know how to figure out what to do next. And I'm gonna walk you through all of those steps today. Okay. So for many of my coaching clients, before they work with me, the fear is there. Either they think that it's one thing when it's really something else. And I'm going to break down what I'm talking about in just a moment. And I'm looking at my notes. Look at me. Again, prepared another day. Okay, so for many of them, before they start working with me, they think it's their resume. Right? So a lot of people, when they first find me, they're like, the reason I'm not getting macro jobs, because my question always is, are you applying to macro jobs currently? Have you been on any interviews, things like that? And people's responses are always like, yes, I'm applying, or no, I haven't applied, I don't have a resume, or I don't know what types of jobs I'm looking for with the experience that I have. So because, but again, more than that, fear is more than those tangible things, right? That's what you can easily name. But in order to push through the fear, figure out a plan to work through it to get where you want to be in your career, we got to go a little bit deeper. We got to call a thing a thing. So Peach said imposter syndrome. Social work collection. Hey, how you doing? Social work collection says imposter syndrome, and then the self-doubt is a major struggle for me too, Peach. Hi, Marthea. Hey, social work collection. So first, let me define career fear. Okay, let's start there, because I love a good definition. So we're clear about what we're talking about. So career fear is an internal anxiety, right? And I'm not clinical. I'm just talking in real terms. I always like to get a disclaimer. Career fear is the internal anxiety or hesitation that arises when you're considering a change, growth opportunity, or decision in your professional life, right? So that can mean, do I apply? Should I apply? Should I request a promotion? Should I request a raise? Should I go on the track to become a leader within such and such organization? It can arise at any point in your career when you have to make a decision, right? So it's not always about the job itself. Real fear, right? The fear that we're talking about today, the root of it all. It has nothing to do with the decisions that you're making as far as the tangible job or the promotion or the advancement that you want. It's often about what the job opportunity represents or the risk that it triggers. So when I'm going to break down what career fear can look like. Career fear for a lot of people, not a lot, for people, for some, is rooted in fear of the unknown, right? Not knowing what's on the other side of a career change, because fear is scary, especially when you don't know what to expect. It can look like fear of rejection. Fear of rejection, worrying you won't get the job, you won't get the promotion, or you won't get the opportunity. Fear of not being good enough. That's a very real fear for many of my coaching clients. Thinking you don't have what it takes, even if you do. Because the truth is, if you engage in my content, you are phenomenal at what you do. But the truth is, a lot of people think they're not good enough. Fear of failure, right? Believing that if you mess it up even before you start, like, it's just going to be all bad. But the truth is, you're a human, not a robot, and you're allowed to make mistakes, right? Unfortunately, though, in case management jobs, they don't give you room to be a human and make mistakes, because everything is just so like detrimental. If you make a mistake, it's magnified to the 1,000th power. But I want to say that in real life, you are supposed to make mistakes. That's how you learn. You view them as learning opportunities. Fear of leaving security. For some social workers, they have a misperception that when you are pivoting in your career or advancing your career, it will require you to start over, especially when you're going into a different organization, industry, or space or type of social work. But I want to say that you don't have to start over, right? That's why a lot of new graduates from social work degree programs, even when they have these very extensive work backgrounds in other industries and organizations, maybe they were in business, maybe they were in the medical field and they became social workers, many of them automatically gravitate towards case management jobs because the perception is that you have to start over, but you don't. Right? But it's a very real fear of starting over, fear of leaving that security, and fear of being the only one, right? Fear of being the only one. What I mean by that is, I've heard from my coaching clients before that their fear is of getting jobs where they're the sole person responsible for a thing. And I completely understand that. Like, that's a very real fear. But what I always explain to them is that in macro spaces, those organizations are way more resourced than micro case management organizations. And a case management job is nothing for you to be the only one, right? But in macro organizations, because they're funding and the money they have and the resources and the network and the capacity that they built into the program, you will be fully resourced. You will never be one of one, right? You will maybe be one person who specializes in a thing, but you're going to be well supported with a robust and diverse team. However, that fear is rooted out of a lot of people's case management experience where they were the only person on call, the only person that worked on weekends. So fear of being the only one. But here's the truth, right? Career fear is rarely about logic, right? It's about protecting yourself from disappointment, embarrassment, or instability. Hey, because I have been there, done that in my personal life about disappointment. And no one wants to go through like not getting a job opportunity or being rejected from whatever it is that you're going after. But the sooner you embrace the fact that not getting every opportunity that you go after is a real part of your career, the better. The better you're able to push past it all and get where you need to be. So career fear, though, when you don't address it, it keeps you in survival mode even when you're ready for something more, right? Because it keeps you in the same types of jobs that you say you want to leave. It keeps you in the same not so great situations with your current employer because you're afraid to move. It just keeps you stuck. So that was career fear, what it looks like internally. But because I know many of you who are listening to this, either live or on a replay, you are so engrossed with other people's business that you don't have time to really, you don't have the capacity to really tap in and listen to what is going on internally with you. right? So you run past the red flags. That's another common thing that I see with my coaching clients, is that there were red flags in their career early on, but they ran right past them because they were so engrossed in being there for everyone else. So I want to talk about 3 signs of how career fear shows up externally. Things that you can see. Things that I can see when you talk to me, maybe in a get to know you chat, and I'm asking you questions and you're explaining to me what's going on. It's a clear indicator that that's your fear. Like, it's a deeper thing going on other than your resume or not knowing macro jobs. Why? Because at this point in time, information is in abundance out in the world, right? My program, I just take it and package it all in a way where I can teach it to you in 3 months or less. And everything that I teach was birthed out of my own experience of pivoting my own career from being a case manager with 120 plus caseload. But I say that to say, like, anything that you want to do, there's information out there to make it happen. And usually, though, when you've not taken a tangible action, not all the time, sometimes, it's because you haven't, like, went out and got access to the resources that can really help you get what you want, right? So I hope I was clear with that. I want to break down the 3 signs, the 3 external signs that fear is stopping you from advancing your career. Now hold on to your seat. At first I was like, I'm going to be real gentle with y'all tonight. But I was like, no, I ain't got time to play with y'all. The people have passed the bill. And I'm going to come on and talk about that at another time, not this week. I need to process all of that. But, well, they're going through the process of passing the bill and all of the things. So hold on to your seat, because I didn't hold back on this one. So sign 1, that fear is stopping you from advancing your career. You dream about doing something more in your career, but never take any tangible actions towards it. All right? Plain language. Marthea, plain language. You are all talking, no action. You just talk about it, right? You talk about it either with yourself, with your friends, maybe with a few like of your trusted colleagues and your social work bestie, right? But you don't do anything. Even when the opportunities are presented to you, you don't do anything, right? So what that could look like is, I asked you to get the free e-course in my bio. I'm just starting there. I asked you to get the free e-course in my bio. Learn more about macro jobs. You don't click on it. You don't get it. You don't read the days of the information that I seen is jam-packed with information. Maybe there's an opportunity within your organization where the people are coming to you because, you know, this happens quite often in case management jobs. Maybe they're asking you about entertaining the idea of applying to another job, right? You don't even entertain it. A lot of the times, because it maybe not be the best ideal situation to stay within your organization, but you still don't take any tangible actions to get you towards where you want to go, right? And so I'm gonna get into a lot more of the technical action, like the tangible actions that I'm talking about. Sign 2, that your fear is stopping you from advancing in your career. You say you want a different job, right? As a social worker right now, immediately, you say you want a different job, but focus all your energy, time, and money on additional degree programs, certifications, licensure tracks, and certification like trainings that don't yield you actual job opportunities, right? So plain language. You hide behind education instead of executing, right? So for a lot of people, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this, not in my career, but in other areas of my life. Spend a lot of time over intellectualizing stuff, right? Instead of taking the immediate action, right? The action of, okay, you say you want a job in the next 6 months. So start applying to the job right now, or sign up for one of my coaching programs and learn how to get a job in 3 months, right? Instead of doing that, you spend your time looking at things that require longer amounts of time, energy, money from you. So what I mean by that is, it's not uncommon for people, well, this was in my earlier cohorts, for people to come into my program who were like, I'm looking at going back to school. I'm looking at going back to school, and I'm like, okay, how long does it take for you to get a degree program? Okay, I will. How long will it take you to go through that degree program? And they're like, it's gonna take 2 years. But then you say you want a job in the next few months. Like, okay, if you want a job in the next few months, why are we looking at degree programs that will take you multiple years, right? Or why are we looking at certifications or trainings that don't yield actual teaching you how to get a job? The problem isn't that you don't have enough education. The problem is that you don't believe that you can do whatever it is, the work that you say you want to do. So that's another way that your fear shows up, because it keeps you in the constant cycle of over credentialing, right? I need another certification, I need another training, I need another degree. Because the truth is, many of my coaching clients have multiple bachelor's degrees, multiple master's degrees that they've never used before, right? And so when you do that, that's a tangible physical sign. Okay, do I really need more education? Do I really know that I need another degree? Or is this just my fear bubbling to the top? Right? Peach says, you're really calling me out right now. Okay, Peach, good. See, I wrote this because I know I've been guilty of this stuff. I always tell my coaching clients, for me, how my fear shows up in my because y'all don't know I'm working on a PhD. Don't ask me no questions about it, because my brain is fried today because I've been working on it all day, on my research stuff all day. But anyway, how my fear shows up is that when it's time for me to sit down and write, I just get the urge to get up and walk around my house. I can't tell you how many times I walked around today knowing I had a major deadline. At 6:30, I had to have my submission in at 6:30. What was I doing at 5:45? In the bathroom, scrolling on my phone, standing up, looking in the mirror, doing absolutely nothing. That was my fear. Right? Instead of me getting the words on the page and editing what I needed to do, that was my fear that got me in there looking at the Instacart app, standing up in the bathroom. Right? So I say all of that to share with you that fear is a very real thing. A lot of people think that, oh no, this is productive. No, that's just your fear bubbling to the top. Okay? Sign number 3, that fear is stopping you from advancing in your career. You see open job opportunities that excite you, but never apply to them because you dismiss yourself as not being qualified, right? So you don't even try to apply for the job. You don't even click open the job to read the job description. You just read the little preview of the job title. You're like, no, I don't qualify for that. No, I can't apply for that, right? That is your fear. Right, plain language, larger titles, salaries, and responsibilities scare the heck out of you because you feel that you aren't qualified to get those jobs or do the work that they're asking. But what I always tell my coaching clients is the truth, that I might step on your toe a little bit. You don't have the career education to know how to properly read through a job description, meaning you cannot just look at a job title and determine just from reading the job title, not even the job description, that I'm not qualified. I don't have enough experience. They will never hire me. If your strategy is to read just the job title to make your determination on if you are qualified or not, that is your fear, and you are doing yourself a disservice. Right? That's why I teach my coaching clients how to properly read a job description. And that don't start with reading the job title. Only Marthea Pitts, and I could say this, and then some of my coaching clients that work with me early on can read a job title and decipher what that means and how they qualify for the thing. But that's after years of mastery of the fundamentals. Right? That's years of me reading job descriptions. Okay, so if you reading just the job title, that's your fear, right? If you don't even click it open. So fear is a very real thing in your career. And like I shared with you all, I experienced it, yes, in my education career, but I've also experienced it in my professional career when I was a case manager. That's how I mastered how I can now teach others how to identify it, but also how to work through it to achieve the goal they want. Because as a case manager, I was afraid to not apply to the macro jobs, but being able to do them. Right? I used to spend a lot of time researching, how do you work through fear? Like, I wish I could pull up my search history back then. Like, how do you work through fear? I used to research that, like, on to no end, until I came across someone who was like, you don't ever overcome fear. You just have to learn how to persist in spite of it, right? So I want you to understand that the fear don't ever go away. I used to try to research to figure out, how do I get it to go away? Because I got these bigger goals in my brain. Old Marthea case management days, probably like 6-7 years. No, that was probably like 10 years now. 10 years ago with 120 plus case law, I would have never been on here talking to y'all. What? My fear wouldn't allow me to do such a thing. Right, but now I get on here. When I was on here on Sunday, it was me and social work collection. The two of us. Did I care that it was two of us on here? No. Old Marthea would have never did such a thing. But I'm living out my career dreams. Right. I love it. Love says preach. I feel seen. LOL. Yes, love. So fear is a very real thing in your career. I experienced it. Many of my coaching clients experienced it at some point along in their journey as well. But they got me on their team to name it for them and then teach them strategies on how to overcome it. And when I say strategies, the biggest strategy to help you work through the career fear is by educating yourself on the fundamentals of getting jobs, on the fundamentals of understanding how the experience that you already have positions you to excel in the job that you want. See, a lot of the fear comes from the unknown, not knowing how to interpret the job description, not knowing what the work looks like in this other space, right? And so education is the key. So that's why I do a lot of education with my coaching clients. I'm not just teaching them how to search for jobs and write resumes. We do more than that. I'm in there teaching them, you do this as a case manager. You did it in the past, you do it now. This is what this looks like on a macro level. I'm taking them through like a day in the life of what a macro social worker does in the specific area of work they want to do. I'm also talking to them on strategies of how to like overcome the fear in an interview, how to push through the fear when you're talking about like doing bigger things in your career, doing speaking engagements and going. One of my coaching clients, when was that? Before the new administration came in, we were preparing her for her presentation in Washington, D.C. as a part of her macro job. Right? This is how you prepare for this. First, you get an understanding of who's in the room. Right? Who's the stakeholder group you're talking about? What are the connections you already have with them? Write out your script. Practice. Why? I can teach my people that because these are all things that I had to figure out on my own and do. Right? And so it works for them. But I want to name with you that it comes from education and not traditional, I need a degree. That's not the type of education I'm talking about. Education on the fundamentals of how to get a job. Today in my community, we celebrated one of my coaching clients. She just finished my cohort program like last month. She started at the beginning of the year. And yeah, about 2 months ago, she finished it. She started at the beginning of the year. She's gotten 2 macro job offers in less than 5 days. Right? And she made this whole long post today, which I love when they share their wins, around the fact that she's a first generation college graduate, her and her sister, and that now she's always had the dream to make more money in her social work career. She never was able to do that as a therapist, and now with this macro job is the most money she's ever made, and her life has changed tremendously. And she closed it out with like, even if this doesn't work for me, I now know how to get a job. Where did she get that from? Because that's what I tell them. I was like, If I don't know how to do nothing else in life, I know how to get a job. And I teach you all how to get a job. So regardless of whatever flows down from the new administration, you now know how to get a job. You don't have to sit anywhere where you don't want to. If you want to make more money, you can move. You know how to get a job. That's always my response to my alum when they come and talk about whatever is changing in their life. Because as your life changes, your career should change. And my response is always, you know how to get a job. Use the skills that I taught you, right? And so, again, that starts with education. It starts with a system. It starts with real strategies. And I'm going to recap these signs for y'all real quick because I want you to carry them with you in your front pocket. The first sign is that you dream about doing more in your career, but you never take tangible action. We're going to change that today. We're going to do something. Sign 2 is you say you want a different job as a social worker right now, but you take the long way around and you go look up 2-year degree programs and things that's going to take you multiple years that don't yield tangible results. We're going to change that today. Sign 3, that your fear is stopping you from advancing your career. You see open job opportunities that excite you, but you don't apply to them. We call them scary jobs inside of my coaching program. Right? You don't apply to them. You don't know how to effectively determine if you are qualified. You just assume you don't qualify. So I went over all of that because many of my coaching clients are landing jobs every day. Macro social work jobs are on a clear uptick because in response to the new administration, they've always been in abundance. They're even more in abundance now because macro organizations are really, really doubling down on their work in response to the changes that's flowing down from the new administration. In August 12th, I'm having a workshop called How You're Already Qualified to Get Macro Social Work Jobs. The investment is only $25. $25, and I'm going to teach you what experience you already have right now that can get you a macro social work job. I don't care if you only have worked as a medical social worker. That experience that you have will qualify you for macro jobs. Right? That's just an example. I don't care if you're clinical or non-clinical. If you've never worked a macro job, you've never had policy experience, you've never been a leader, or any of the things that people think are a part of getting macro jobs. You don't need any of that. You just need your social work degree, 2 years of work experience, 2 years, that's it, and a whole lot of passion about your population and issue. And if you don't know your population and issue, I will teach you inside my coaching program how to figure out your population and issue. But that's all you need for a macro job. You don't need a license. You don't need policy experience. You don't need leadership experience. You don't need to run for political office. You don't need to volunteer. You don't need to do none of that stuff that the social workers tell y'all. That is just wrong, just completely wrong, and time wasters, right? The time is now. If you've been dreaming about doing this, the time is now. These macro employers, they are doubling down. They are rapidly expanding their workforce. So I invite you to come to the workshop, the webinar that I'm having August 12th. The investment is only $25. I'm going to show you in black and white what experience macro employers are looking for and the top 5 experiences that social workers have that match what they're looking for. I'm going to break down how you have gotten it as a case manager, and I'm going to show you actual job posts, open jobs that show this is the experience they're looking for, and I'm going to show you how you already match that experience and you could be applying to macro jobs. That's it. You don't need to go back to school, get another degree, do none of the other stuff. You don't need a network. You don't need to live in a big town, right? I don't know if you know, I lived in a very rural town when I landed my macro job in Washington, D.C., right? You don't have to live in a big town. You don't have to do any of the things that people normally know about macro social work. So I invite you to come to the webinar. It's going to be on August 12th. The investment is only $25. The link is in my bio. You can visit macroandpaid.com to click the link. If you're listening to this on YouTube or my podcast, the link is down in the description. Visit macroandpaid.com. I encourage you to purchase your ticket sooner than later. Now, really. Why? So that way you can put it on your calendar so you can attend and you won't have no excuse not for being there. Because that's another problem, too, that way y'all fear show up. I said it earlier, but I'm feeling led to say it again. Y'all spend all y'all time handling other people's business, but don't handle your own business. In the words of my auntie, she told me this a few years ago when I was taking my daughter to college. Since then, my daughter has graduated and been out of college for years now. But I was taking my daughter to college, and I had to do some final things to like get her set up on campus. And my auntie called me because everybody was calling me, they excited about my daughter's going off for college and things like that. She was like, it was early in the morning. I was like, Auntie, I'm asleep. She was like, Marthea, get up and handle your business. Okay, so now that's something I carry in my pocket. When I feel like I'm doing other stuff, fool-la-la, like what I call it, I get up and handle my business first. So I pass that on to you too. Handle your business. Register, put it on your calendar, move your clients around. You got well over a month. That's why I'm starting to advertise now. You have well over a month to shift them people around for August 12th so you can be off work early and be in front of your computer or logged on your phone to catch what I'm going to share, because it's going to change your paradigm about what you can do in the world of work as a social worker. Because a lot of the fear that you have is because you don't have enough information to make a well-informed decision that really teaches you how you qualify for these jobs. So a lot of people are in case management jobs because they really don't know. And that's what I'm going to be breaking down. So the link is at macroandpaid.com. It's in the bio. It's in my comments. I'll talk to y'all next time. Happy macro career planning. Bye.